Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Get in, get in, get in. Oh, you know what? This is why we love football. This is why we love football. We're all set to say, oh, this didn't work, that didn't work and all that. And I get it, I really get it. But you can't have those moments in games. It reminds me of the European Cup final in '99. You can't have those amazing elation moments if you don't have the game that went before. And we were down and out in that second half. It wasn't great, but the sheer elation and joy of that goal, that's probably my most enjoyable goal of the season because it didn't feel like it was going to happen. And, you know, you're like, last attack, we haven't really deserved to win it. You see the 1-2, you see he's got the pace on the Fulham defenders. You see it go in the bottom corner and it's like, get the fuck in, get the fuck in. It's brilliant. It's so good. It's so good, and that's why football's brilliant, and I love it. And the fact that it's a youngster that who the sky's the limit. We've got to bring that limit down and just not overhype him and let him keep developing. But that's wonderful. It's simplistic. It's wonderful, and just so happy we had to win that game. I cannot emphasize how important it was to win that game of football because 3 points off Spurs, 4 points off Newcastle. We've got a game in hand. It gives us a buffer on Liverpool behind us. It would have been so, and we've got a break now with the World Cup, but we go into that break with real positivity, which hopefully we can bring back. And look, there's so much to discuss about that game. I think Ten Hag got some things really, really badly wrong. And I think Ten Hag was a little bit lucky, but also I think we should have put the game to bed at half time. Garnacho to start games or impact player off the bench as Michel. Just keep developing. I think what Ten Hag's done with Garnacho is 10 out of 10. The development of the player and, not overthrowing him in and things like that. Make sure you do the player ratings, Mark. Links in the video description for that, or it will be in the video description. I'll whack it in for you now. But just a fantastic 3 points for Manchester United. I just want to say as well, I think it's very important to say this. Big shout out to all the Manchester United players that kept going to the end who were going to the World Cup. Whether it's Rashford, Luke Shaw, Eriksen, Casemiro, Martinez, Bruno, it doesn't matter. Malacia as well. Whoever it is, fair play, because next week they're expected to get their head on for their national team, and they played right to the end for Manchester United today, where certain players weren't even there. And whether they weren't there for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, you can guarantee they'll be at the World Cup, but they weren't there for Manchester United today. And I'm not picking on those players, but I am saying that sometimes you've got to shout out the players that were actually there. We had no bench today. We had no right-hand side today. And those players that are going to the World Cup who put on a shirt for Manchester United today, no matter what their performance was, they put 90 minutes in, they kept going to the end. So big shout out for them because for me, it's club over country and we needed those 3 points. So massive, massive, massive shout out for those players today because it would have been very easy to switch off in that last 5 minutes when, I'm thinking, Eriksen in the last 5 minutes, he's knackered. World Cup's coming up. Well, you know what? We'll take the point. And we didn't do that. We didn't. The mentality in that team to keep going to the end has to be applauded. What a talent Garnacho is. We must take care of him and not fall away by the wayside like many other talents, says Anthony. You know what? I will say this. I had wrote it down and I still think it's true. If we'd drawn that game, there would have been a lot of discussion about he needs to get rid of some players. He needs more backing in the window. He still needs that. Just because we got a last-minute winner against Fulham doesn't mean that everything that went wrong with that game isn't still true. The bench was a disgrace. There's not enough quality on that bench. The right-hand side was just basically a plaster job. I mean, Malacia probably deserves man of the match. Not because he played particularly well, but because he put a shift in. He did a job. And we shouldn't be doing a job. That's not how Manchester United should be. If I'm the board and I'm Ten Hag over the next few weeks, I'm saying, look, I can't go to... If I'd have been going to Anfield with that team, I'm getting smacked up. Like, we're lucky we were playing Fulham, and all due respect to Fulham, but a bottom half mid-table team, whatever, we can just about get a job done, but it was very late on. I can't build a team with what you're giving me. And yeah, Varane's injured and Anthony's injured, but Ronaldo doesn't want to be here anyway. I don't know what's going on with Sancho, so I can't comment on that. But really, he needs backing, and they've got to get him a right back in January. We can't go into another game with Delo suspended and have to put Malacia at right back. Wan-Bissaka should have gone in the summer. Maguire is now fourth choice centre-back as an £80 million player. That needs to be resolved and sold, and a new player needs to come in. I think we need another midfielder, and we 100% need a striker. I mean, it's a farce today that Martial couldn't play 90 minutes because he's coming back from injury. I completely understand that. but we need to win the game. It's 1-1 and Martial has to come off because he can only play 70 minutes and there's no striker. Like, we've got to get a striker. We are up against Newcastle, Spurs, Liverpool for top 4. And all of those teams could buy in January. We've got to back this manager. We've got to back this manager. You know, the turnaround since Brentford has been very, very good, but the problems were there for us all to see. We need better players than what we've got, and he needs them ASAP. And I don't think the World Cup is going to solve that. Some people are going to go, well, we've got a break now. Hold on a minute. If Brazil go to the final, Argentina go to the semi-finals, Portugal go to the semi-finals, we're missing most of our team for the 2 games over Christmas and the Burnley game. So these players are going to come back more tired. I don't think they're going to come back refreshed. It's great for Garnacho, it's great for Sancho, it's great for Martial, De Gea, McTominay and a few others, but the vast majority are going to be very tired. I think this next 3 or 4 weeks is huge for Ten Hag and Man United. They've got to back him and they've got to give him the opportunity to not... Everything is not going to happen in January, but there's got to be players that come in January and there's got to be players that come in the summer. He's got to be backed. I think he's shown enough that he deserves to be backed. Martinez is massive. He's been more than worth his price tag already, says Michael. Garnacho feels different. Same Cristiano vibes of 2003, says Franco. Credit to Fulham. They did try their best to take the game away from us, especially Palina, Andreas and James, but Garnacho saved the day, and he did save the day, Ara. I think Fulham, let's be a little bit empathetic. Fulham probably didn't deserve to lose that game. Think back to the Fergie days. We put our best in over time, letting them gain confidence. Eric Ten Hag gets it, says Dusk. We're going to do the player rating. So mark every player out of 10, 6 being the average. But there's a couple of things I wanted to just talk about as well. I think it would be remiss of me not to mention the fact that in the first half, we never should have been in this situation. Martial's header, I think he should have scored. Eriksen should have scored right before half time. So in the first half, Fulham created nothing. We created 3 goals and we scored 1. You've got to, if we're 2-0 up at half time, it's a different game. Second half, I've got to say, Fulham were better. De Gea made loads of saves. We really didn't create anything. I think McTominay missed a sitter from a cross, and then the goal didn't really create anything else. So Fulham were better in the second half. We were better in the first half. So a 1-1 draw seemed about right. But we should have took our chances better. And the one thing that really I've got to call out Ten Hag for is the McTominay substitution. We're winning 1-0. We're winning 1-0. All right, Alanga's got to go off, but we're winning 1-0. He brings McTominay on and he puts Bruno, who's playing well, to the right wing. Bruno's game falls off a fucking cliff. I mean, he's basically at fault for the goal. I don't agree with taking off your captain and one of your most influential players and putting him in the graveyard shift on the right to bring Scott McTominay on into the midfield. It weakened us and Fulham got stronger because of it. If we'd drawn that game, I would be saying that that substitution cost us the match. It was a weird substitution. I'd love to know why he did it, because Ten Hag's a better tactician than all of us. But we were lucky. It's a bit of individualism from Garnacho that's won us a game, because Bruno's game fell off a cliff. And I personally do not believe that Bruno Fernandes should be going from playing in a good position as a number 10 to running a graveyard shift on the right-hand side. He's an influential player. He's one of our better players. You put him out on the right wing, he's out of the game, to put McTominay in the middle. That, to me, was weird, and it very nearly cost us. So I would be unfair if I wasn't balanced on bringing that in. I also think Rashford was poor and would have been subbed if we had a bench. But we have to go with what we've got. How true is this? Rashford would have blasted that shot right at the keeper. Garnacho places it perfectly, says Kevin. Well, look, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho really need to be looking at Garnacho and going, he's going to get better and better and better. And at some point, he's going to be the first choice left winger. What does that mean for me? Because Anthony will be the first choice right winger. So if I was Rashford and Sancho, I'd be looking at that and going, you know, that could be my spot, really. But look, I agree Bruno was terrible when he went to the right, but I actually thought he was playing brilliantly, for 60 minutes until that sub. It was weird. I thought Lindelof did play very well, James. We're going to do the player ratings now. I thought De Gea was fantastic. I thought Lindelof and Malacia were very good. I thought Luke Shaw was reasonably good. I thought Casemiro played well. I thought Malacia actually did a job for us. So, yeah. And I don't think McTominay was terrible, but I think there's a world of difference between McTominay to put Bruno on the wing. I think it was a mistake. I really do. What else do I want to talk about? Look, I'll say it again. every player who's going to the World Cup, who played for us today, I wish you all the best. You put the shirt on in a game where we needed you, and you gave it all. And some of you didn't play well, and some of you did play well, but I wish you all the best in the World Cup, because you proved today that you're United players, because you put the shirt on, and I never for 1 minute with any of them thought they're thinking about the World Cup. And you know where that really came home? In the last 5 minutes, because they didn't give in. They didn't think about... Players are most susceptible to injury when they are tired, and they never gave up. And some of them are going to the World Cup next week, and it was never in their head. They gave a shift to United, so well done to those players who put a shirt on today who were going to the World Cup. I support Liverpool. In my opinion, you need to start Garnacho as a first choice player, says Nathan Allen. Is Garnacho a generational talent, says Rory? Well, the last player I called a generational talent, it went wrong, so I won't be doing that. And I also think that we can't overhype Garnacho, but there's a player there, and I think Ten Hag knows exactly what he's doing with him, and he's done a great job with him so far. There was one thing I wanted to talk about before I went on to that. Okay, I just want to say this about... Actually, we'll do it on the player ratings. It's easier to do it that way. So let's go to the player ratings. But before I do that, let me just say that the win is so important. I know every game's a must-win game. Even Eric Ten Hag says every game's a must-win game. But the importance of winning that game was essential. Absolutely essential. Because the second half of this season is going to be a killer. 3 games a week until May, potentially. So how do you do that when you are... Games in hand are not a good thing. So if we'd have been 6 points off Newcastle and 5 points off Spurs with a draw with a game in hand, you know, you're still waiting for them to drop points, and you've got to win your game in hand. We're now 3 points off Spurs with a game in hand. We needed to win.